Okay. First, I want to thank the organizer for inviting me for this talk. It's a real pleasure for me to be back in Japan and in Okazaki. So today, the talk I will present you, it's kind of a synthesis of the work we did in my team in the last 20 years. And the second part will be new perspective and new an ongoing project with recording in monkey. So the first question we address is architecture of the structure, the network that is involved in goal-directed behavior and procedural learning. And this is something we did in the last 20 years, more or less. And to understand what is it about, I think first we need to go back to try to present what we mean by procedural learning. When you talk about procedural learning, there is several ways to present it. And the one could be reinforcement learning, which is what you are doing when you learn new skill. At first, you act by trial and errors. And if you do this long enough, you can become very proficient and make things, practice your skill without thinking about. And this is what is important in this way. In this, it's like it's unidirectional. You know, there is a famous sentence saying that once you learn to ride the bicycle, you never forget. And so this kind of things, it's once you have reached a level of proficiency, you are always still able to do it. So it's unidirectional. Another way to talk about procedural learning, it's dealing with balance of exploration, exploitation of behavior. So when you're confronted in a situation, you can continue to use the same solution that it's maybe not optimal, but allow you to perform something and get some positive feedback. Or you can try new solution, but in this case, you lose some time, and it's a kind of a trade-off between what you get by exploitation behavior and what you can get further with exploration behavior. And what is important here is you can switch from one behavior to the other. So it's another way to present procedural learning, another framework, but basically share the same characteristic as the reinforcement learning. A third way is what you will find in cognitive science as trade-off between goal-oriented behavior and habits. And typically is what you do when you try to navigate from a place, a new place, or if you move, for example, to a new home, you have to find a way to get to your work. And you will have to have a representation of your environment to do this in order to be able to reach your work from your home. But after a few days, you will be able to do this just habitually without thinking about. And it's only if something happens, like a roadblock or new paths that are open, that you will have to switch from habits to oriented behavior. And this again, it's a trade-off between two behaviors, so you can go on the two direction and switch from goal-oriented behavior to habits or habits to goal-oriented behavior. So these three framework share same process, opposing flexibility and automatism. And what we are interested in is what are the brain structure involved in those flexible or automatic behavior, and how they interact together in order to generate behaviors. And what is known is it's related to this, the network encompasses the frontal cortex and subcortical structures such as basal ganglia and thalamus. Cerebellum is probably involved, but we don't talk about it today. And the other structure like amygdala are involved also, or hippocampus, but it's something we will not deal with. So we mainly focus on these loops that encompass cortex, basal ganglia, and thalamus. And another thing which is important to know, it's this loop. It's segregate in different functional pathway, motor, limbic, and associative and cognitive. We will come back to this at some point. What we know from many time, from works from many researchers working on it, Atsushi Nambu was here, part of the job, that the loop are connected to the generation of goal-oriented and habitual behavior. And what we try to do is to understand how it's organized. And the framework we use, it's an heuristic that is come from automatic learning. It's in order to understand how an agent behaves in an environment, and you can divide it between an actor and a critic, actor process and the critic process. And what is important is the critics and the actor interact together. And one of the main features of this interaction is what we call reward prediction error, which is translated from the critic to the actor, that informs the actor about each time it's doing an action, how good this action is according to what it could be. So what we did up to now is we focus on the actor structure, and what we know is that the main information provided by the critics is provided by dopamine. So dopamine plays the role of this reward prediction error that tells to the actor how good he performed according to the situation. And most of the signal is released at the level of the striatum, which is the entrance layer of the basal ganglia. And from that, we were able to, from using behavioral approach, electrophysiology, so I don't go into the detail of all the studies, but neuropharmacology, we were able to elaborate a model of actor in the generation of goal-oriented and habitual behavior. And in fact, it's a double-stage actor network. The first stage is it's a loop, a subcortical loop that encompasses thalamus and basal ganglia, and that rely on dopamine, on reinforcement learning in order to generate goal-oriented behavior. But at some point, the cortex will enter in the game and will play a role for habituation. So it will be able to generate habitual behavior. And the two networks act in parallel and collaborate. So this network is slow and flexible, and this one is fast but less flexible. And the way it interacts is that you have the critics that for the moment is not completely identified, that will provide the reward prediction error to the basal ganglia that will play the role of the goal-directed actor, and information are transmitted also this is a loop network, to the, it depends prefrontal or motor cortical area, it depends of the kind of behavior you generate, that will generate a motor decision, and that will play also the role of automatic actor. So you can, if you want to simplify the whole system, you will say that you have this loop that perform decision, that is the actor in the actor-critic model. The basal ganglia is important in the training of the actor, but the cortex can play a role in automatization. So all of this came from the studies we performed in the last 20 years. But the question here now is, what about the critic? So what we try to do now is to identify the critic in the network. And our working hypothesis is this one. Because the actor so we found it, we have some kind of functional architecture. Could it be possible that the limbic part of the network, who share the same architecture, could play the role of the critic and interact with the system using dopamine? So to do that, we perform electrophysiological studies to look out the response of the neuron of the basal ganglia. And we will try to identify 3 types of neurons that will help us to understand in which kind of process they are involved. involved. Sorry. So what we call chosen value neuron, which are neurons that will encode expected value of a target chosen independent from the offer, from the action, sorry, and from the offer also, actually. Action neuron that will encode only the action performed by the subject, but independently of the value, and what we call action value neurons that will both encode the action performed by the subject and the value of the target the animal reach. And our hypothesis, our question is the distribution of value in choice encoding neuron distributed in the primate ventral and dorsal circuit of the basal ganglia will reflect a mirror organization of the critics and the actor. So this is an ongoing project, and up to now we only did one monkey. So I will describe you the results we get with the monkey. And here is the task we use. So the task is quite complete, but we don't need all the complexity of the task today to understand the work. So anyway, the monkey has in front of him a screen, and the screen in the screen you have a gauge, and once the gauge appears, you have two cues that are presented to the monkey that have different value. We don't go into detail of the value, but it's probabilistic task. So it tells the animal both how much reward it can get or lose from the original gauge, and what are the probability of this gain and this loss. So it chooses one of the two targets that is supposed to have a better expected value than the other one. Then you have the outcome getting, and from the outcome, the gauge is changing. It can get up to 3 more drop or 3 less drop. So his reward vary from 0 to 6 drop. And then there is the reward delivery, and then intertrial interval and next trial. I show you an example here of the task that may be easier to understand. So that the gauge appear, and you see for the animal, yeah, they are very, very fast. Even the students are not as fast as the animals when they try to do the task. So you see, according to the choice of the animal, the gauge can increase or decrease. Here it's increased by 2, and then it's filled, and you get his reward. Here there was no he lose all the three drops, so he didn't get any reward, and so on and so on. So the task is probabilistic, but the framework is known. There is not uncertainty. There is uncertainty in the outcome, but there is not uncertainty in the knowledge of the task. It's lotteries. And if you look at the performance of the animal, their success rate is quite significant. Around 80% of the time, they choose the best of the two options, so they seem to understand the task. This is so statistics are for 2 monkeys, but then the recordings I will show you are only for 1 monkey because the other one is not finished yet. So we recorded more than 1,000 neurons in the striatum, and about a bit more than 300 in GPE. For the striatum, we record both dorsal and ventral striatum, and the same for the pallidum, dorsal and ventral pallidum. Here you have the distribution of the recorded neuron in space. And what we did as analysis, we did some kind of population analysis, but we did multiple linear regression, and we look out for the firing rate of each neuron, sorry. What is the influence of expected value, position of, because there is 2 possible positions of the target, and the combination of 2 that allow us to identify chosen value neurons. So for the firing activity vary according to the value of the target. Here you have neurons for which the activity varies only for the position of the target, so that's what we call action neurons. And you have some neurons that combine those two properties, so they have their activity is different if the position and the value of the target have a certain value, and for the other, it stays similar. So we have this three kind of population of neurons, and we will look at how they are distributed in the striatum and the pallidum, and we will divide striatum and pallidum in dorsal and ventral according to their position in space during the recording. So the first thing, so this is result first for the striatum, and what you can see is that you will find, in blue it's a dorsal striatum, and in red is a ventral striatum. So you can see that for chosen value neurons, you can find both of them in dorsal and ventral. For action neurons, you find much more in the dorsal than in the ventral, and for action value there is less. Sorry, I forget to say that this is the mean activity of the population of neurons, and so you see that you see more variation. So for action neurons in the dorsal than in the ventral, and for the action value neurons, their contribution to the variability is much less than the two others, chosen value and the action value. If we do the same in the GP, you will see that we have more or less the same distribution. Chosen value can be found both in the dorsal and ventral striatum, GP, pallidum. Action neurons are more important in the dorsal than in the ventral pallidum, and action value are present, but they are less. They influence less the variability of the whole population than chosen value or action neurons. So if we look at a global distribution, I think I will focus on this, which is the relative weight, which is a product of the fraction of neurons that are either chosen value, action, or action value. The partial X square, we see is how much they influence, they explain, the variability. So, and if we make a product of it, we get this relative weight. And as you can see, if we look at the relative weight, the relative weight of chosen value neuron, it's much more important in the ventral striatum and in the ventral pallidum than in the dorsal part. It is reverse for the action neurons. You have much more influence of the action neurons on the dorsal striatum and on the dorsal pallidum than on the ventral part. And the proportion of action value neurons, the influence of action value neurons, is similar in all the structures. So it's quite stable. So what we can get out of this, I was very short, so it's okay, is that chosen value action and action value neuron coexist in the basal ganglia. Chosen value and action, but no action value neurons mainly account for the modulation of activity explained by our model. There's value related information are not uniformly distributed along the dorsoventral axis of the basal ganglia, so that was working hypothesis, so we are happy to find that. Action neurons are found in the dorsal region, so they are related more to the actor process, and decrease in the ventral region of the striatum and the GP. Chosen value that encode affect animal motivational emotional state are maintained from dorsal to ventral area region. So that was less expected because we expected to find a bigger proportion of chosen value in the ventral part, but there is some kind of specificity in the architecture of the basal ganglia, which is that especially in the dorsal basal ganglia, you have patches and matrix, and patches are connected to the substantia nigra, or matrix are the one we contribute to the actor protocol. So maybe we can't see chosen value neurons, and this is something we have to check, but it's difficult with the method we use for this electrophysiology. Maybe we need further studies to do that. But it could be that the chosen value neuron we found in the dorsal part are related to neurons which are from the matrix. Is something we will have to check. Anyway, sorry, this was, I forgot to remove it. So if we try to summarize what we get for now, it looks like we can segregate our system by critique that we found in the both in the ventral striatum and ventral GPE, but maybe also part of it it's still present in the dorsal part of the structure, and actors that we already defined, but we find again with neurons related to action. But what we have to continue to explore is how everything is organized with the cortical area, those who are related to more automatic action, and the final figure we expect will be this. So we need further experiment to achieve that. And of course, in order to first finish work related to this part, we need to continue experiment in the second monkey that is ongoing. So I want to finish with the acknowledgement, and I want to say that most of the studies were performed by Milesa Simic, which is a PhD student. All the studies, the second part, experiment in monkey, were performed by Milesa Simic under the supervision of Marc Defense, who is a researcher in my team. Thank you very much.